Real quick, I just wanted to go ahead and thank everybody who's been sharing, commenting, interacting with my latest videos overall. Like I said before, it was a kind of experimental thing for me. I've never tried that kind of content before. So the reception was pretty positive, and it makes me feel good about that. I appreciate all you guys for that, and I guess in the future we can look forward to more of that. That aside, I just wanted to address this real quick, and this isn't something you ever got to really get used to with my content. I'm not really a complainer in that sense, so this is really for joking purposes. But anybody who actually watched through my Gundam Breaker reviews knows that when I was doing those videos, I said multiple times that doing those videos almost felt like a sort of obligation to get them done. So that's not an excuse for any of the shortcomings of those videos. I learned a lot since I did those videos, and that obviously will help me moving forward. But I started reading through those comments and started seeing comments that clearly feel like some people ignored those parts of the video and just went straight in to hit me with corrections. And those kind of just read like, they did foreshadow this. Sometime before this fight, you end up having to help Will fight some dude. You didn't even talk about the customization in detail, which makes nuts. I had noticed based on your build, but now I know the answer for the downgrade was completely different development. And it was right about here I stopped reading because I got as bored of these comments as I was of the games when I started reviewing them. So, as I said before, I'm glad to be done with that period of my content career. So we're on to bigger, better, and newer things, which brings us to today's video. You see, I'm what you would describe as a casual fan of Monster Hunter. I've pretty much played every release since Try, and I've always enjoyed them, but I'm usually far too busy with a chaotic schedule to commit to these games the way my friends and other players do. But I found myself spending way more time in Monster Hunter World on my PS4, and was pretty much ready to play the then upcoming Monster Hunter Rise for that good old Nintendo Switch, which has just been collecting dust on my desk for a little while now. And I spent a good couple of weeks playing the game, so I think I'm ready to share my thoughts and trade notes with you guys. So today I give you my review of Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch. Starting off in our usual fashion, let's talk about Rise's story. Hunt. That's it. I mean, I guess there's a little more there, but every Monster Hunter game follows a similar pattern in the story. You're some young, upcoming member of a hunter community somewhere in the world. Weird shit starts happening in your general vicinity, so you as the new kid on the block get tasked with handling the situation the only one anyone knows how in Monster Hunter. Murdering, and occasionally capturing, because that's also a pretty viable option, any monsters making a fuss until you bring peace to nature or something like that. I don't fucking know. So in your hunting pursuits, you find yourself with a literal mountain of options to go about your business. You see, the general idea in Monster Hunter is that there's this gameplay loop that, should it be your thing, should offer you a theoretically near endless amount of content to keep you busy for as long as you're interested in it. The loop goes as follows. Pick a hunting quest, go hunt the target monster and defeat it, carve that monster for parts, take those parts to craft newer, more powerful gear, and then go repeat the process to your heart's content. Anybody who's played a Monster Hunter game knows this. It's the very foundation upon which this series has gained its passionate fan base, doing no small parts of the challenging fights you can get into with all the big, often imaginatively designed monsters. You get everything in this series from big lizards to weird turtle platypus things to straight up fucking dragons. And should this be your thing, then just know you can look forward to seeing what kinds of fights you can get into, all the while thinking about what kind of gear you can make out of said things to fight. Come on now, Rathalos, daddy needs that lovely set of armor for the next quest. Every monster has breakable parts that yield drops, and every monster basically has elements and damage types that they're weak to in varying degrees. That kind of stuff is where your gear comes into play, because there's 14 different weapon types in the game, and they all cater to a certain playstyle. I myself play Charge Blade alongside Switch Axe, and occasionally Longsword when I'm playing solo. Because Longsword players online are the bane of my fucking existence. But there's something here for everybody. I dare you to try every weapon in the game and say you don't even like one kind. You also have this new wire bug mechanic, which basically acts like a hook shot and helps movement feel fast and snappy. You can even launch into walls and hit a quickie wall run, which is kinda neat. You can pick up an extra bug during quests to add an extra hook for a limited time, and there's all sorts of other stuff in the wild for time passive buffs and such. After doing enough hunts, you'll increase your hunter rank, and with higher ranks comes harder fights. and eventually you'll go from a low rank hunter to a high rank hunter. And making it to high rank almost feels like a soft reset of a sort to your progression, because you then gain access to high rank armors, which may not look any different from any armors you already crafted, but the stat difference is so noticeable that your low rank armors might as well have been made from cardboard the entire time. It's been recommended to me in the past, and so I recommend to any new players that you make one armor that you're sure will do the job, and proceed to not make any more until you make it to high rank, because you'll save yourself a lot of materials and by extension, heartache. Now in the later part of the game, you'll also start finding monster parts that you couldn't find in low rank quests, and that begs farming in some cases because they will not always be easy to find. Like for instance, this Raytheon ruby that I haven't been able to get because of an abysmally low 3% drop rate. Why do you hate me, RNGesus? There's a lot more to it though. Armor sets have passive skills. You can mix and match to optimize your build for your playstyle. You later get access to a melting pot that allows you to make talismans that further add on to said builds. You can eat meals pre-mission to enable passive effects that help you on the quest. The list goes on and on. Still, for all that depth, it doesn't feel as difficult as previous games, and it can seem a lot more casual than the series pretty much ever has. But the amount of content can truly be staggering, daunting even to new players, and if you have the mind for it, you can keep yourself busy for a pretty long time. But that said, why is this Monster Hunter game so much shorter than every other Monster Hunter game? I say that jokingly because there is still a lot to do, but in comparison, I don't even think this game has a tenth as much content as any other Monster Hunter game. Even Monster Hunter World, which was seen as a much more casual, easy experience, dwarfs this game in content. And I'm talking vanilla, not even any added content. That game took me somewhere around 75 plus hours before I even really feel like I made it to endgame content, and by then I was somewhere close to like Hunter rank 24, 25, if I remember right. You wanna know where this game stops? Hunter rank 7, and there's single player village quests, alongside multiplayer hub quests, which you can also do in single player if you so choose, and they both end at the same point, factoring in my least favorite quest type, rampage quests, which is some weird hybrid tower defense slash horde mode quest that I just really think we could have did without. So penciling that in, even at a casual pace, you can wrap that all up in just shy of 30 hours. Some of my hardcore friends did it in around 20. Hell, I'm pretty much only adding time to my clock because at this point I'm just messing around and playing with friends, and even then I'm still less than 40 hours in. I want you to know I'm not trying to paint this entirely as a complaint, I just feel like it needs to be pointed out. However, Capcom is already planning out future content drops just like they did for Monster Hunter World, so there will be more to enjoy moving forward, however. And I feel like there's still a more than serviceable amount of time to squeeze out of a single game, and any enjoyment is multiplied when playing with friends in the online multiplayer, which in my experience has been pretty solid actually, considering Nintendo's terrible network on the Switch. So you can definitely play this game alone, but if you can, I highly suggest getting some friends together because it makes the trip a lot more enjoyable, and it's the real way to experience this game. If you can stomach diving in, then there's still a wealth of content to enjoy. And if you were looking for anything else to enhance the experience, look no further than this game's presentation. And I'm honestly impressed at how little concessions, if any, needed to be made for this game. The game maintains a pretty solid 30 frames per second a lot of the time, though you will get some dips when crazy shit starts happening in hunts. But overall, technically, the game performs pretty well, and that only adds hype to that PC port that's coming out in 2022. You can only imagine how much better all these textures, frame rates, and loading times will be when that happens. Also, the game's aesthetic is pretty dope. It all feels a lot more ninja-like. Between all the loose, flowy clothing, wall running, mochi making, and the much more traditional Japanese music, I've already pretty much labeled this game in my head as Monster Hunter for weebs, but it's all done so well. It also features voice acting, which is pretty much par for the course at this point, and it's pretty decently done. Though I don't think the English voice of the village elder really fits him. Aside from that, your own player insert character is a lot more chatty in quests than in other games. I guess they wanted to get the most out of that part of the budget, but it's not bad, and you have your sub and dub options, so whatever works for you. All in all, this is still very much a Monster Hunter game, and I think Rise does a good job of being accessible to newcomers who are usually off-put by the commitment the game might require to get into the meat and potatoes. It's just overall, I want to say, like, the easiest Monster Hunter to get into that I've played. Let's just hope that some of that content they promise later on makes it worth jumping back into later. But for now, I enjoyed my experience and can easily recommend this one to people who've never played a Monster Hunter and are wondering, where should I start? But that pretty much sums up my thoughts on the game. I want to know yours. If anything, I joked about the comments earlier, but like I said, that's not a normal thing for me. I'm always down for discussions, so sound off in the comments and let me know what you think. And if anything, we can trade notes, chop it up. But I'll be back soon with more to talk about. I hope you guys look forward to that kind of stuff. But until then, stay safe, everybody. See you on the next one.